This is Chris Gabbitas, Artistic Director of the Phoenix Chorale. I'm delighted to be joined this afternoon by renowned choral composer Cecilia McDowall, who I'm delighted to say has just written a new commissioned composition for the Phoenix Chorale that we're going to be premiering during our series of concerts, A Chorale Christmas, December 16th to the 20th, 2021. Welcome, Cecilia. Very good to see you.
Hello, it's good to see you too.
And I wanted really to ask you, for our viewers and for our audience members during these concerts, what's your process like when you're commissioned to write a piece, and how did you approach this particular work?
Well, I suppose, first of all, it's the gathering of the text. That's the important thing. And of course, I discussed this with you and the idea of the Trinity and the connection there. These are three texts that I think are very special in their very different ways. And they seem to have a resonance for this time of year. O Magnum Mysterium, beautiful words about the wonder of the animals looking into the manger. And then there's O Nata Lux, which again, it's not particularly to do with Advent, but I think the fact that it is about to do with light from the darkness is very appropriate to Advent. And the last one, O Virgo Virginum. And this one, I think, is supposed to be the eighth O antiphon, which has a relevance to Christmas Eve. So, yes, where does one begin? That's the thing when writing. I think the thing that I found quite important was a structure that would give contrast. So each of the movements is very different. The opening one, O Magnum Mysterium, what I hoped in this one was to perhaps have something of the majesty and the mystery in this. So it is quite bold and strong and fairly static in a way. The second one, O Nata Lux, I have written it in a different part of the voice. It starts with upper voices. And again, what I was hoping there was that it's quite slow, that it would give some kind of that kind of movement between light when things slightly clash, and that's the essence of that one. And the last one, again, because of the ancient text, I have used, I suppose, some rather sort of medieval inspired phrases in this, so that there's some unison singing, there's a sort of dialogue between the two. So I suppose the most important thing was finding the contrast and finding the shape, so that it's really, I suppose, rather like an arch shape. So,
oh, thank you, Cecilia. That's a wonderful explanation as to the arc of the performance and how you approach the texts first. And I think as singers, we're so fortunate to have this additional layer to our performance, where unlike other musicians, we can convey the rhetoric of text. And that's the communication highlight that we have really as choral musicians. But I can remember part of the discussion process was we asked for it to be a triptych, celebrating the 100th anniversary, the centenary of Trinity Episcopal Cathedral in Phoenix, which is the Phoenix Chorale's home. But I remember also asking whether it could be performed as three discrete pieces as well as a complete arc. And how was that as a request for you?
Well, I think that makes every bit of sense, because I think probably most composers are fairly pragmatic nowadays. We want performances, obviously, we're very grateful for performances. So if any choir, anybody wants just to do a separate piece, I feel that they're all standalone, so they should all work independently of each other. And I think actually that OUP, my publisher, will just publish them as separate pieces rather than a group in one booklet, as it were.
I think that's an excellent idea. And I was delighted that you chose particularly O Magnum Mysterium and O Nata Lux, because there's such well-known texts that we hope this will give the piece as much, or the pieces as much life as they can possibly have with choirs all the way across the world. I suppose one final question would be, was there anything that specifically came to your mind when writing for the Phoenix Chorale?
Well, I have heard the chorales sing before under Charles Bruffy, and I just thought the sound was wonderful. And of course, they have recorded 3 of my Latin motets in the past. beautiful sound, and it's really quite interesting how everybody comments on the quality of the singing and the wonderful richness of sonorities there. So I had that sound in my head, and I think that's quite important whenever I'm writing. I like to know that I have heard the singers and have an idea of what it will be like. So it's always a pleasure.
Well, I've been listening to those recordings by Charles as well of the pieces that you wrote those years ago, and it's so exciting for us to be working, you know, directly with you on this, and we're all so grateful that you've agreed to write for us, and the piece is wonderful. I'm very excited to start working on it in about a week's time from where we are now, and we will send you recordings, and we all thank you from the bottom of our heart for all that you've done in writing this for us, and we hope very much to see you in person soon.
Thank you very much, and hope it all goes well. Thank you.
Thank you.